Hey guys, in this video, let us understand about lambda expressions in Java. Let us learn what are lambda expressions, the syntax and structure, and how to use lambda expressions with functional interfaces using few examples. Let us jump in. What are lambda expressions? Lambda expressions are like methods without method name, return type and access specifier. Just the parameters followed by arrow followed by method body. As in, let us take this example. So here no method name, no return type, no access specifier. The syntax of lambda expression goes like this. Parameter list followed by arrow followed by method body. Within the parenthesis, I can pass the number of parameters that I have. I don't have to even specify the data type. Okay, what is the purpose of lambda expressions? Lambda expressions support functional way of programming. That is, you can write the method implementation in the same place where exactly you are calling it. Lambda expression makes your code short, simple and concise. One thing that is very important for lambda expression is it can be used only together with functional interfaces. Okay. First, now we will understand how to write the code for lambda expressions. Then we will move on to understand what are functional interfaces and how to use lambda expressions with functional interfaces. First, let us see few examples of lambda expressions. That is, if I have a method with return type or if I have a method with parameters, how I can write it using lambda expressions. Let me explain it using writing and then we will move on to the coding part. First, let us have a method without return type but with parameters. Public void add int x comma int y system.out.println x plus y. Now how to convert it using lambda expressions. Lambda expression is like a method with no access specifier, no return type and no method name. Just the parameter list. Even in case of parameters, already we have discussed, we don't even have to specify the data type. So just the number of parameters that you are having followed by method body. System.out.println x plus y. Okay. How to use lambda expression with functional interfaces, where to write the code, all that we will learn going forward. First, let us understand how to modify a method using lambda expressions. Next, let us take a method where the return type is void with no parameters also. SOP welcome. Let us convert this into lambda expression. Arrow. So in this case, it doesn't take any parameters. So empty parenthesis, arrow followed by method body, system.out.println welcome. Okay, of course you need to end it with a semicolon. Now, in both the cases, if you notice, I am having only one single line of code. You already know that in case of if else condition or in case of for, if you are having only one single statement, usually you don't use the curly braces. We can do the same thing in lambda expressions also, but not in a method, only for lambda expressions. So let me modify both the methods because they are having only one single line of code. So I can write this code as x comma y arrow. Because I am having single line of code, I don't have to add the curly braces. Directly I can write it as system.out.println x plus y. And for the second one, no parenthesis, arrow, system.out.println welcome. In both the cases I am having only one single line of code. So I don't have to add the curly braces. Write the statement directly after the arrow. Okay. Now let us move on to the third use case where I have a method which returns a int data type and also takes two parameters. int x comma int y, return x into y. Let us write the lambda expression for this particular method. As usual, no return type, no access specifier, no method name, just the parameters x comma y, arrow, within curly braces, I need to write the code as return x into y. If I am having more than one line of code to be added within curly braces, that is well and good. But in this case also, I am having only one single line of code. So how to modify it just like the previous scenario? In this case, I can write the code as x comma y, arrow, no curly braces. When you don't use curly braces, you should not use return statement also. It is enough you simply give it as x star y. That's all. So, if I have a method with return type and with parameters, and if I want to implement it using lambda expression, it is enough I take the parameters, the total number of parameters that I am having, followed by arrow, followed by method body. If the number of lines of code that you are writing is more, add it within curly braces. If it is one single line of code, add it in the same line after the arrow. That's what we have done. Okay. So this is how you will be writing your method using lambda expressions. Now let us see how to use lambda expressions with functional interfaces. For that, you need to understand what are functional interfaces. Functional interfaces are interfaces which have only one single abstract method. The functional interfaces may or may not be annotated with @functional interface annotation. Okay. Can functional interfaces have any other methods other than this? Yes, of course. It can have default methods also and static methods also. Guys, this was asked me in one particular interview. They asked me like what are functional interfaces. When I explained, functional interfaces are interfaces with only one single abstract method. Then the next question was, can functional interfaces have default and static methods? Yes, of course. They can have default and static methods. The purpose of default method is for backward compatibility, right? So they can have default methods. Now, can you name few functional interfaces that were available before Java 8? Yeah, let me tell you. They are runnable. This is from java.lang package, which is used with multi-threading applications. The next one is comparable. This is also from java.lang package, which is having one single abstract method. The purpose of using comparable is sorting the objects in a collection. The next one is comparator. Comparator is from java.util package. This is also used for sorting purpose. It is having one single method compare. Okay. Now, in one other example, I will explain how to sort the elements using comparator with the help of lambda expressions. Okay. These are the three interfaces that were available before Java 8 and which are having only one single abstract method. So they are called as functional interfaces. But in Java 8, few new interfaces were introduced. They are consumer, supplier, predicate, function. Each interface has its own functionality with one single abstract method. Other than this, we also have by consumer, which takes two values, by predicate, by function. Okay. I don't want to deviate from this topic. We will stick on to lambda expressions. But remember, these are few functional interfaces that were introduced from Java 8. Now let us jump into the coding part. Let us see how to use lambda expressions with functional interfaces. This time we are going to create our own functional interface and we will implement it. Okay. Already my Java application is ready. I am also having a package. First, let us create our interface. Select your package, right click, new interface. Let me give the name of the interface as iCalculator. I was introduced just to inform that this is an interface. It is not mandatory though. Now let me add one single method. This time let me have the return type as void. Void add int x comma int y. Okay. Now if you want, you can also annotate this interface using @functional interface annotation. Is it mandatory? If you don't add it also, it will work perfectly fine. But it will behave like a normal interface. You cannot use lambda expressions. Suppose say, if I am trying to add one more extra method here, then immediately I will get an error saying that this is not a functional interface. Okay, so it means you are informing the compiler if an interface is annotated with that functional interface, this should have only one single abstract method. Okay, now we need to implement it. Usually, how do you implement an interface? Guys, from Java 8 it is more advanced in the sense whenever you are having an interface, usually you will create a class that implements the interface, or you can go in for anonymous inner class. This was the scenario till Java 8. After Java 8, you can directly use lambda expressions for implementing a functional interface. Then the next level is you can use method references for implementing a functional interface. Now, in our example, let us see how to use lambda expressions with functional interface. So let me create a new class. Let me give the class name as lamdemo. This is going to have public static void main. Okay. Now we will do step by step. Let us go in the legacy way, that is old school way. First, I need to create a class that implements iCalculator. So let me create a class in this file only. Class calc-impl implements iCalculator. Okay, I need to implement the method. So sum plus x plus y. Okay. In this case, how do we call it? First, let us call the method by using this class, and then we will move on to lambda expressions so that it is easier for you to understand also. In this case, we will write the logic as interface reference is equal to implementation class object. That is iCalculator calc reference is equal to new calc-impl. The next line I can call the method directly, calc-ref dot add by passing two values. This you all know. Now let us implement this functional interface using lambda expression. What is special about lambda expression? In case of lambda expression, you will be writing the business logic in the same place where you are calling the method. We are calling the method within public static void main. Within this method itself, we will be implementing iCalculator using lambda expression. That is, here also it is interface reference is equal to implementation using lambda. Let us see how this can be done. iCalculator calc lambda. It is not mandatory that you need to create a new reference. You can work with the previous reference also. Equal to, now I need to provide implementation for the method that is available in iCalculator. This method does not have any return type. The method name is add. When I want to implement lambda expression, I don't have to bother about the access specifier, return type and method name. My only botheration is the parameter list. Just copy this, come back, add it over here, arrow, method body. Remember to end it with a semicolon. When we were doing the example, I have not shown you by ending it with a semicolon. The reason being, I just showed how a normal method can be written using lambda expression. But in this case, it is one single line. So it's mandatory that you need to end it with a semicolon, within which let us add the logic. Okay. So remember, this is only implementation, not calling. If you want to call it, in the next line, using this reference, you need to call it calc lambda dot add by passing the values 20, 30. Okay. It's not having any return type, so you don't have to return any value also. Now let us run this. The first output is for a class that is implementing the interface. The second output is for our lambda expression. Okay. Now, can I write it in one single line? Yes, that is also possible. Why are they using lambda expressions? Why can't I use a class that implements an interface? I have an answer for this. Suppose say I have an interface shape. I want to calculate the area of different shapes. So I have added one single method area. I also want to calculate the volume of different shapes. So I have added the next method volume. Think that it is having parameters and everything. Now what is the first step? I need to create multiple classes which will implement these two methods, and I will get the functionality. As in, I can create a triangle class and provide the functionality for area of triangle, volume of triangle. Then cylinder, area of cylinder, volume of cylinder. Circle, area of circle, volume of circle. If you don't have volume, then don't use it. Maybe here I can have it as cone. Then parallelogram. So in this scenario, I have an interface which are having many abstract methods. So I need to create a class to implement all these abstract methods. This is okay, fine. Now assume I have my shape interface which has only one single area method. I want to calculate the area of different shapes. In this case also, I am creating multiple classes which is implementing the shape interface. So what happens? It is a botheration for the developers to remember the name of these classes to call this area method. So instead of creating one single class to implement one single method, I can do the implementation using lambda expressions. I can have multiple implementation for one single method within a particular place itself. In our case, we have used iCalculator. Now here I have one method add. Let me change it to calculate, which takes x, y as parameter. I want to get the sum. So I need to create sum class. I need to get the product class. Get the difference class. Get the square class. Get the square root class. This means I am creating multiple classes just to implement one single method. Rather, if I am using lambda expressions, I can provide the implementations in the same place itself. I don't even have to remember the class name. So, remember, the purpose of lambda expression is to support functional way of programming. That is, you are writing the logic in the same place where you are calling it. Whenever you are having an interface with only one single abstract method, you don't have to create a separate class unless until reusability is there, or else you can implement it directly. Now, let me go back to the code. So in this case, let me go and change the interface method name to calculate, and coming to lambda expressions demo, I'll change here. Calculate. Okay, and now I have got the sum. The next requirement for me is I want to get the difference. So again I can use the same reference as I told you. Calc lambda equal to, in case of lambda expressions, you don't even have to give the data type of the parameter. So I will just give it as x comma y arrow. My business logic is only of one single line. Directly I can write this line. Difference plus x minus y. You can see that it is giving me an error. Why? After changing the method name, I have not saved it. So let me go and save it. Again here it is calc lambda L lowercase. Next line, remember to call the method. Calc lambda dot calculate by passing 200, 100. Okay. So this is calling part. First one is implementing. Second one is calling. It will not enter into line number 26. First it will enter into line number 27. Then only backtrack and come to line number 26. Just like this case. It is referencing calc IMPL. Then it will not go into the class. It will call calculate method. The moment you call calculate, then only it will go to this method. Same way here also. Now what if I want to find the product? I can give it as calc lambda equal to x comma y arrow siso prod plus x star y. In the next line again as usual call it. Okay. Let us run and check it. So for one single method in the interface, we have created multiple implementations. Earlier before Java 8, for this purpose, you need to create a separate class that implements this method. From Java 8, you can very well use Lambda expression which provides the same functionality and same purpose. Okay. Let us see few more examples also. Let me create an interface. iSports. Let me have an interface which returns a list of string. Show games. Import list. Then let me create one more class also. Lamb demo. Select public static void main, click finish. Okay. Now directly we will implement it using Lambda expressions. So first it is iSports. Sports is equal to, I don't know what is the method that is there in this interface. So I will go to iSports, copy just the parameters, come back. Arrow method body. This returns a list of values. So I need to give it as return arrays.asList football, cricket. Okay. Remember this is just the implementation. The next line you need to call the method. Sports dot, what is the method there in the interface? Show games. This returns a list of values. So let me call it within a println statement. Okay. Now this also can be written in one single line. iSports new sports is equal to parenthesis arrow method body. Now because I am having only one single line of code, I don't want to use the curly braces. Let me show it to you directly. I will copy paste and I will modify. Let me remove the curly braces here, remove the curly braces here also. It's giving me an error because there is a return statement. What I need to do is remove the return statement and add it in one single line. Okay. In the previous case, it will not give you any error. If I remove the curly braces alone, no error, nothing. But if a method is returning a value, it is mandatory that you need to remove the return statement. In the next line, as usual, call it. You need to call it within println statement. Or of course, you can use for each to iterate it. New sports. Now let me run this. Okay, both the cases I have given the same value, so it's returning the same value only. I hope it is clear. One last bonus. Usually I will deal this with functional interfaces, but here I want to show you how to implement an inbuilt functional interface. Let me take consumer. Okay, consumer expects generics. So let me pass string import consumer. Now I don't know what is the method in consumer, So I have to go inside consumer, get the parameter list and then implement it. So what we can do, keep the cursor here, go to consumer. See, it is annotated with that functional interface. It is having one single method accept which takes parameters but does not return any value, just like our I calculator. So let me copy this part along. Control C, come back, Control V. This is of data type string. I don't have to provide the data type. It is enough I just give a variable name. str within curly braces. I need to write some logic. So str dot to uppercase. Okay. Now I want to write it in one single line. Remove this curly braces. Remove this curly braces. Now we have provided the implementation for this consumer interface. If I have to do it with a class, then explicitly I need to create a class that implements this consumer. Check implements consumer, and I need to pass string within curly braces. I need to implement the method. Add unimplemented methods. Okay. Instead of you writing this whole logic, you are going to write the logic using lambda expressions in one single line. T dot to uppercase. See, whatever I have written over here, I have written it using one single line. That's it. Now usually after this what you need to do? You have to call the method using the object of check and pass the parameter. Now in our case, I will call the method using this reference dot. What is the method that is in consumer? Accept. Already it is showing it. The generic type is string, so it's accepting only string values within which I can pass hello. This hello will be passed to this str and it will print hello in uppercase. We don't need this class also. Now it's printing hello in uppercase. What if I want to use this consumer with numeric values? It is very simple. Use consumer angle bracket integer. Guys, in this case, you cannot use the same reference. In the previous examples, we have used the same reference because our interface is not generic. But in this case, the interface is generic. So you need to provide different references for each type of interface. First one is of type string. Second one is of type integer. In consumer is equal to, now it takes a number. So let me give a proper variable name number, arrow, number star 2. In the next line, let me call it incon dot accept. See, automatically it is taking integer as parameter by passing 10. That's it. Now let me run this. Here you have got the output. If you notice here, in case of consumer, it is taking only one single parameter, consumer. Right? If I want to perform calculator functionality, is there any inbuilt interface available? Yes, you have by consumer. So if you click on by consumer, it has two parameters. So this means you don't have to explicitly create your own user defined interface for performing calculator operations. You can use by consumer interface itself and provide your own functionality to perform all the calculator specific logic. That is for addition, difference, product, division, power and so on. Now let me add two more interfaces. You try to write the logic for this and share it in the comments. It is just 2 lines of code. Let me add the interface. Interface I greeter string greet message string username. It takes a parameters and returns a string value. Now you need to implement it using functional interface and you can share the answer. And similarly we will try for area also. Interface shape double area by passing 2 parameters. With the help of which you can calculate the area of rectangle, area of triangle. Of course, you can do it for square also, provided you are passing the same values. Try implementing these two interfaces and share your answers, that is the coding, in the comments. I am expecting it. This is all about Lambda expressions. Thank you.